Jane, you talked about what we as leaders had to do to kind of bring this paradigm shift or change along. And Monta and I came up with a little diagram that kind of illuminates that or shows it. And we just came up with 5 different terms about kind of how you go through that process. And the first one on the bottom is you're rocking along kind of in equilibrium. And that's where we were in the beginning of this process. Nothing was terribly wrong, but people in the system and outside of the system became dissatisfied, and that's kind of the next step in the process in terms of you're probably not going to change unless you become dissatisfied with the status quo. And so initially in the process, we became dissatisfied. And along the way in the process, several times we forced dissatisfaction, introduced dissatisfaction in order to get people to listen and to be willing to make some changes. And then I think with that dissatisfaction, you kind of have to have a disturbance, something that comes in and makes you think in a different way. And at times we kind of affectionately called David the disturbance, because David was the one that came in on top of that dissatisfaction and said, here's a new way. Here's something that you probably haven't thought about. And it's disturbing. It really is. On top of the dissatisfaction, to find out that everything I've been doing has been wrong. Kim Adcock, who's one of our elementary principals now, was a teacher at the time at the high school. And I remember at the first 4-day conference we took people to, I sat at her table, and Kim looked at me at one point and said, so what he's saying is that everything we've been doing is wrong. And I said, yeah, Kim, I think that's pretty much what he's saying. Now, of course, in the long run, you look back and that's not the case. But that's an example of a disturbance, of coming to the conclusion that there is a better way and we need to change. After that, I think you get into what we called disequilibrium. And really, what that is trying to carry on with what you're doing and to learn the new way at the same time. One of the ways that we describe that is having a foot in both paradigms. I mean, you can't, in your business, automatically stop everything you're doing in one sense and start a new way. There are a lot of times aren't the breaking points that you can do that. So you kind of have to carry on with some of the old paradigm while trying out and changing at the same time to try and improve. And it's frustrating. It really is. I think we had a little diagram once that we used called paradigm schizophrenia, where there's a person standing there with frizzled hair, with big eyes, and we went through a lot of that, a lot of disequilibrium in terms of people not knowing which way to go sometimes, and what Monta said about the role of a leader in trying to calm people down and say, keep pushing, let's keep going, I think is crucial. And it wasn't only me, it was a lot of other leaders in our system as well. And then the last term that we used is building the field. And that comes from the movie Field of Dreams. And I think Kevin Costner in the movie said, if you build it, they will come. And I think that goes back to what I said a leader has to do as well, and that's put that vision out there and keep it consistent about who we want to be and where we want to go. To help people, to keep that out in front of them constantly, over and over again, to help them understand what are we trying to build here, and who do we want to be, and how do we want to go about things. And you can't just make one speech or have one conversation and say, okay, I checked that off the list. It's something you have to come in every day and do. And there are big times when you're talking to the whole staff, or in an administrative meeting or at a faculty meeting. There are signal times when you really want to make that heard. But it's also as important to do it on a daily basis, in individual conversations, with a cafeteria worker, with a student, with whoever you're talking to help them understand where it is we're trying to go. So it's just a constant effort.